Hello, everyone. Micah here with Mirrorkall Healing and Coaching on Light Warrior Wednesday. And I just wanted to join you guys today and talk about post traumatic stress. Um, so, this is something that I personally dealt with in my own journey. Uh, Technically, I've had it since I was a child, just due to the type of experiences that I experienced as a child. So, that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk about it. Because I think a lot of people have this idea, this notion that PTSD or PTS or PST, however you want to look at it, doesn't really matter, uh, is associated with like combat and war. What if maybe the people who are drawn to the military are those experiencing certain types of traumas at home, right? So, for something that I've kind of learned or uncovered within my journey is like complex PTSD is essentially like it's a normal response to to your environment. So like the emotional abuse or the physical abuse that you may have endured by someone that you trust deeply or that you love deeply. Um, this is something that can play out over a long period of time within your life, especially if it's something that you're not even aware of or addressing, right? So first, let's start with what is post-traumatic stress, right? Um, if we're gonna go by definition, it's a normal response to events or experiences that are outside of the normal realm of human life. So, car crashes, divorces can be traumatic, suicides, war, seeing or being exposed to that type of propaganda on the news, like that can cause stress, like post traumatic stress. Think about 9/11. I think I was in fourth or fifth grade, and, uh, and watching people die on TV, like that can cause stress in a child. So just that's something to think about. Uh, Not necessarily just in child, but like in your life. Are you watching this video because maybe you're curious what is it and do I have it? And not that you can, I mean, not to diagnose you, not that I can diagnose you, right? Or that you shouldn't go see a doctor for these things, but just understand that most of us in life have experienced some sort of traumatic event, and that traumatic event affects us in all ways. So if we're not processing what's happened to us, it's leading to distortions within our energetic system, within our entire being. Just the way that we perceive or believe the world works or how it functions. Like it gets really deep when you really start sitting with it. And as I've kind of come into understanding myself, it's something that it's almost like the way that we learn. But anyways, there's a few other things that I want to talk about in this video when it comes to post-traumatic stress. Maybe you aren't the one dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. Maybe you are living with someone who has this, or you are, one of your loved ones are dealing with this. There's some things some cue words that really will help kind of navigate this whole journey. And so I just kind of want to dump that in one area because while the program that I went to, people can't really necessarily go to that. Like, I want to offer that information to as many people that can get it, right? So, that being said, I have like a little list of things over here to talk about. So, the first thing I really want to I touch on are values, right? This is one of the first things that they brought to our attention. Like, what values? Like, so what still matters to you or to the person that you're involved with? What still matters? What are the values? What are the driving forces behind? Um, yeah, behind everything. It's the heart and soul connection to the world. So, what still makes you tick? why are you still like, why are you still trying? Doesn't, and I hate to even say try, but like, like something's got you here. So what are the values within life that are keeping you going? For me, it was like family, experience, love. At this point in time, my wife, my partner, she showed me that I could love not only myself more, but my entire life more. And that really opened a door for me to get help, which is why I'm sharing this information. The next thing I want to talk about is mindfulness. Mindfulness is huge, huge in spiritual awakening and healing in general, because this is your presence of awareness, your presence of consciousness within your everyday life. And it is taxing to be mindful all the time. However, the more that you practice being mindful, being present in the moment, the more that mindfulness becomes just part of life, a way of living. And that's really, really what spiritual awakening and ascension is, from my perspective, right? Is just being as mindful as possible in all moments, because there's a lot to gain in that, in each experience. Like, for instance, right now I can hear some people talking over in the field over there. I can hear some people walking around in the parking lot up there. People driving, and I'm just sitting right here. I can see my wife sitting downstairs watching a video on her phone. My dog's laying on the floor. Like, all of that's going on right now, and that's just right here. You can go a step further, and kind of branch out. So that's what mindfulness can give you, is kind of like a broader perspective on what's going on, right? um, Next, I really want to talk about a trigger. This is something, I think, a word that's been coming out a lot, like triggers. This triggers me, that triggers me, this triggers me, that triggers me. Well, what is a trigger, right? A trigger is a reaction to something that reminds you, um, of something that has happened in the past. And then there's a tandem word that goes with that, and it's a cue. For me personally, the cue is what comes before the trigger. So the cue is the body's response to the trigger in the environment, cueing you into being triggered from the past. So these are just kind of things. So like, your body will respond before anything else happens. For me personally, it's I get sweaty. Um, my mind will, well, my mind doesn't start really racing until after I recognize that I'm anxious, right? So recognizing that I'm anxious is like my body sweating, my heart pounding. Um, I kind of get pacey. I kind of pace around. I seem neurotic almost. And these are just my own personal things that show me that, hey, maybe something in my environment has triggered me. Take a step back and realign yourself. Um, that brings me to 90-10 reactions. This is huge. 90-10 reaction. A 90-10 reaction is when you are reacting 90% from the past and 10% from the present. Um, and it's usually like some sort of overly dramatic response to a situation. Uh, Sometimes this is to show not only the person who's triggered, but whoever is involved. It's just a growing evolution. So, not just remember, 90-10 reactions. Your 90 is usually like a past, some sort of umbrella, like an anger tether, an anger cord is kind of how I see it. um, so the next thing I'm going to touch on is in vivo, which means making the decision to do things in life that make you uncomfortable, to make you grow within your own healing. So, say you're anxious and you're scared of crowds, that means going somewhere where there's a crowd and being there for at least 45 minutes, or until you come down from however anxious it makes you. We used like a scale when we did it. There's like a whole little process that you can put together, but it's one of those things where, yeah, take healing into your own hands. And that's kind of why I want to touch on it right now. um, The next thing I'm going to talk about is committed action, which kind of goes in line with the in vivo. In vivo being, choosing to do something in your life. Committed action is staying committed to the healing and to the process, and that's something that has really been a driving force for me. That's why that if you want something different, do something different comes from it. It's from like not only this program, but taking my own healing into my own hands and walking my own path, and doing that in however that kind of comes out, right? So the next thing I want to talk about is fusion. So this is when you're attached to an idea, thought, or belief that you're unable to see any other perspective of, um, and uh, yeah, so yeah, and you won't allow anything new or different to be added to the thought or idea. So fusion comes with diffusion, and it's the ability to recognize the thoughts and patterns, and the products of your busy mind. So it's kind of like you kind of see how this whole healing process, especially when it comes to PTSD, because we're all in some way dealing with some sort of traumatic event, kind of plays a role in itself. How healing your mind, which is how I see healing PTSD, is healing your mind, rebalancing your mind. Um, it all kind of plays a role in itself. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is just the observer self. My butt is getting cold. So, anyways, the observer self. And this is where you're having the ability to take a step back in a situation and look at it from a perspective of neutrality without judgment. And this is one of the hardest things to do. Which is the whole process of PTSD, right? You're the healing, like you're learning how to become unattached to certain aspects of certain timelines within your life. So being able to observe things neutrally shows you where you're fused, where you can become defused, how you can implement your values, how you can um, reprogram your triggers and your cues to allow your life to flow more fluidly. And like this, all of it just plays a beautiful, like this beautiful symphony, and it all falls back into like knowing yourself and being able to observe how you interact with your own reality, because it's the one that you're creating for yourself. So if you've experienced something in your life, and this is why you're watching this video, just remember that like healing is in your hands, and where you are right now is not in that traumatic event. So just take a deep breath and remember that you're presently here. And if you're not like, if you can't go outside, like here's a little bit of outside for you, right? So yeah, I'm gonna be making some more videos about this because it's a very broad topic, and clearly there's a lot to delve into. So yeah, I just wanted to share this little tidbit for you. Maybe give you some cue words to help trigger your mind to heal itself, your subconscious. You know what I mean? So yeah, just remember to stay flexible. This is a process, and it's not easy, and it's ongoing, and um, it's part of life, right? To enjoy, love, and evolve. So yeah, thank you for joining me today on Light Warrior Wednesday, discussing PTSD, and some definitions within it, and some tips and tricks that have kind of helped me unravel my mind. So thank you. Namaste. Infinite love, infinite light, and infinite movement.